What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the mother-loving Geek Nation? You're currently tuning in to the CultPop versus the World podcast, episode 52, a show where we talk about movies and TV and comics and video games and breaking news and all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. We're coming to you live from Young Chunk HQ, a bomb-ass podcast production space in Philadelphia, PA.
Yay!
I'm your host, Johnny Destructo, of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex. It's a comic shop. Come buy my shit. With me tonight are Brian.
Yes.
And Len.
No.
Ah, frick.
Which one will it be?
Also in our booth is a trusty producer, Dylan.
Hi.
Thank you, Dylan. Ugh.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, click the bell notification, and also use the chat to chitty chat with us right now, here.
Chitty chat chat. Chitty chat chat. We love you. Jang bang. Chitty chat chat. Chitty chat chat. Chit you.
We have a letter.
We have a letter.
We got
lots of letters. This one's from previous co-host of the show, Robert. His name used to be Optimus Douche.
Yeah, and then he changed it legally to Robert.
To Robert. Yeah, Rob Patey. Hello, this strap in, friends. This is there's a lot of letters in this letter.
We got lots and lots and lots and lots of letters.
In this letter.
Oh.
Hello, cultists of pop. Here's a letter for your eye holes and listeners' ear chasms. The missus and I were looking for movies to go to this weekend, and I suggested The Marvels. She was looking at the poster and pointed to Miss Rambeau and said, "Who's that?" She then looked at Kamala and said, "Who that? Who that?"
Wow.
She then looked at Brie Larson and goes, "Okay, I remember her from about 5 years ago." I had two choices at this point. Force her into watching about 16 hours of television or give my own brief synopsis. One would give her an investment in going to see the film, but probably a blue light-induced migraine. The other route would get the info out there, but would my 10-minute retelling of events truly give a level of gravitas that would induce caring? My question is this. Do you think that part of the miraculous malaise of Marvel's box office boils down to an inaccessibility of the universe now? I'm likening it to the same phenomenon that comics go through before the reboot switch is hit. My wife is a normie with mild geek tendencies, also not great at multitasking. Where I can turn on these shows and movies in the background while still lifing, she's a one-track mind with laser focus on the end destination of the activity.
Okay.
Does the MCU maybe need a reboot switch to get back to the billions and billions of dollars for solitary events? Personally, I say yes, but I want to hear your words in the microphone. So, Len.
Yes.
Do you think they should reboot the MCU?
Well, I think that they actually are planning to reboot them, but they've got
Feige had said that recently, hasn't he?
But they've got machinations that they've got to go through because some certain things that they've set in motion. You know, they were dealt, unfortunately, along with the world, a bit of a bad hand with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Yeah. Because you have to imagine that Black Panther was going to be like really huge and whatever this stage of the Marvel MCU was going to be. And now having to readjust on the fly with that. Then you're smacked again with COVID. Oh. And what that does, They
reshuffled some of the movies, in fact.
Which reshuffled everything and then which made them lean more into the television.
And then also, what's his name? Jonathan Powers?
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors.
Either way, it's a a cool name.
Yeah, they're both cool names.
Yeah.
He was going to be the big bad for this phase, and now that looks at worst problematic. Yeah. Whether or not that's going to be able to continue. So I think they need a bit of a reboot. I think that the plan was always there, especially once they got a hold of the toys of X-Men and Fantastic Four again, especially X-Men. But the problem is right now is that the Avengers, even though at the time that they got started, when they started this whole thing, they were maybe the B list of Marvel's characters, because the A list was always the X-Men for
Yeah,
at least the last 30, 40 years, right?
And Spider-Man.
Well, and of course Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But now the Avengers, because of the movies, have been built up to the A status.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you've got legitimate C and D listers right now, like running around. God bless them, but they are C and D listed.
Yeah.
Like Ms. Marvel, God bless how much, or Captain Marvel, whichever,
Captain Marvel,
however you want to name her. God bless how much they bigged her up in the comics. She's still is still probably like B- list. You know what I mean? And never mind her stepsisters, Ms. Marvel and Monica Rambeau.
Photon, the Captain Marvel from the 80s, not on everyone's tongue.
Exactly, right? Doctor Strange, comic book heads love him.
Sure.
Not even me. I don't even care. I never care about Doctor Strange.
You're right, because it actually is comic book heads of a certain age. Like remember fondly of them. Me, myself, I remember a bad CBS movie. So,
with Jessica Walters.
Yes.
Yeah, I never saw it, but
it's
Lucille
from
from
it's a shite.
Arrested Development.
Oh, it's a shite. So do they need the reboot? Yes, I think they're trying to kind of like just keep the
wheels turning.
The wheels turning until they can get to that point.
Yeah. Noel actually wrote us in. He's on vacation. He's out doing Thanksgiving stuff with his family. So Noel said, since I won't be there Wednesday to answer live, I want to throw out my 2 cents. Neither option.
What? That wasn't an option.
Neither option. The third option being neither, which is similar to my same answer when people ask where to jump on a character. Just start. If the piece of content is inaccessible and doesn't inspire you to learn more, then it's not good. But when a movie or book tosses you in and all you need to know to enjoy it is the info offered contextually, then it's all good. With something like Marvel's, the point is the fun, not the explicit plot mechanics as to how someone got powers. The movie did a good enough job of letting you know what you need to know. So he's actually answering there were 2 questions in the email that Rob sent. What should I do? Make her watch everything or tell her everything? And he was like, don't do either. Just let her watch the movie. It does a good job of filling you in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Brian.
Yeah. What's up?
What do you think? Reboot or no boot?
Boot. I would say. So here's the thing. I remember thinking as it happened, losing Captain America and Iron Man, who, like Len said, not really my favorite characters in the comics, but in the movies, great. Both of those stories were really good, but I was like, why not just have them go off, write the story in such a way that they can go off for a few movies, come back, and it's just a different actor.
Yeah.
And there's no need to address it, and then you don't lose those characters. The difference between the movies so far and the comics is that you can tell a story about the same character as long as you want to, right? There's no stopping it, right? You can have a different artist draw it, and it's still Iron Man or whomever. And also, like Len said, like the characters now, they do feel like, the main ones are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's left?
Yeah, and nobody has been built up. I think this could have just been me assuming, and it wasn't going to happen, but that Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man were going to be like the Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man.
Yeah, but Spider-Man would never be it because he would always be primarily in Sony.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? Well, they did. Yeah, maybe it was never in the cards. But, yeah, I think that was obviously sad for many reasons, but as far as narratively goes. To Noel's point, I think there was a time when TV felt that way, right? Like you needed to be given all of the information necessary to enjoy it in that episode, right? And every episode was kind of either like a reintroduction or left things as it ended or whatever. And then with Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, I think was one of the first non-soap operas to like say, all right, you just have to have watched previous episodes, right?
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of like that type of television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it became the thing now, right? And
Yep.
TV has become, I think in many ways, more prestigious and telling better stories, maybe a lot because they have a longer form of storytelling now, a season or even multiple
it's certainly
seasons.
easier to keep up these days because you can go back.
Well,
when
that is
you
true.
were watching Star Trek, Deep Space Nine,
That's true. You had to.
that
wait.
was it.
I mean,
You missed
yeah.
it. You were like, well,
missed it.
bye.
Well, they did a lot of reruns with that particular show, but it did catch on, right? I mean, like Buffy was like that. There were a lot of shows that were like that before the streaming times. But yes, it does make it a lot easier and has really knocked it up a notch. But so maybe movies are doing that too, right? Is it uniformly successful? It was up until Endgame, like as a whole, I should say. And then, I don't know. Maybe a reboot would be good. Maybe
Like a reboot that brings back Captain America and Iron Man, do you mean?
See, I don't think it's a reboot.
I don't necessarily mean that. I think that may have been a misstep in their storytelling. But, there are other A-list comics characters who...
but I don't think it has to be a reboot that brings them back, even though there have been like rumors of them possibly bringing them back. I think just a reboot, just kind of like a resetting of the stage. You know, I don't think the stage has actually ever 100% been reset, especially in the movies. I think that's the problem, is that the movies were the big stage, and anything else that happened outside the movies was ancillary. You caught it if you did, you didn't.
And then they even tried to make it part of that universe, and it just, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or even Marvel's Netflix,
but then they quickly jumped off the boat with Agents
it was
of
like,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
no, we don't want to do the TV show tie-in thing. It's just the movies.
It's just
the only
what it
reason
is.
I was watching it too. Was to see how it ties in with the movies.
Right.
And I was like, oh, never mind.
Then it didn't. But to its credit, once it stopped having a tie-in with the movies, the show
better.
actually got better.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, season 2 on was pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah.
It actually it wasn't a bad show.
Yeah.
But so much of the world setting happened on television, which then became kind of hard to because because now it was appointment television for like a 2.5 hour movie. Now it's appointment watching for like 10 hours of a thing,
and not as good, right?
Yeah.
Mostly. Like, most of the original earlier Marvel movies, people were like, that was good.
Yeah.
Most of the TV shows, it's like, well, it's my, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not the same level.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
With
good.
exceptions,
Pretty good.
Loki was good.
No, Loki was
But,
good.
yeah, I mean...
I just finished up. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oof, awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's tough because, I don't know what they would do differently to set the table that hasn't been done after it. Like they brought out they brought out all new films starring new characters.
They tried,
and it just didn't work.
Well,
so they tried, and I just don't think it's as successful as it was because I was giving it a good long cooling period where I was like, it's basically phase 1 again, guys. Like, let's relax. It's not every movie after Endgame is going to be Endgame.
Captain America wasn't setting up Endgame,
right? Yeah,
at the time.
It's just time to introduce some new franchises, I suppose, and see how they work together, and then build towards Kang. But even I have to say, like, Eternals, I kind of enjoyed, but it's certainly not something that I want to go back too often to revisit.
You didn't care about them.
Right, yeah, I didn't really care about him. I loved Captain Marvel, but that was still but that was before Endgame. So I was really excited for the Marvels.
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel also, a lot of people have said this, and I have to agree, it was a good movie, but I think what also got Captain Marvel over, it was that it was in between Black Panther and what
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah, and it was like she's showing up in Infinity War or Endgame, but I think you knew that when Captain Marvel came out.
Yeah,
right?
and it was kind of a way to know, like, oh, she's going to show up here, so let's find out who she is.
Yeah.
It really.
And I think a lot of us had an assumption that it would lead into.
Exactly.
It would be directly involved with.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't, but it's still one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Good.
Captain
it was
Marvel.
still a fun
I love
movie.
that movie.
It was
fun. You had
but I do
mentioned-
think that there's been more hits than misses. Like everyone
certainly.
rags on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I thought that was
fun.
a really fun time.
Yeah.
I thought that what was the other one? Ant-Man 3: Quantumania.
I liked it.
I thought that was fun
I
too.
liked it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like I feel like
I enjoyed it.
I feel like it's become very en vogue to take a dump on any Marvel project that comes out because it's not Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's true. Endgame was this massive culmination, really, really good, really big, and it is, different after that. It's like, oh, we were building towards the thing and got really, really excited, and now it's
like, oh.
they're
Now we start. It's it's like
starting as square one, and also then looking at Kang as like, well, is he going to be like the next Endgame level villain? Can he do this? You know, that kind of thing. What you had said about introducing a bunch of new characters, maybe that was part of the issue. Is that was all of it? You know,
of which
all of their output was, or almost all, was like bringing new characters to the fore. So Doctor Strange had been around, right? But he wasn't one of the main ones, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he had an Avenger or two continued having movies.
A movie.
Right. Yeah.
Which is what was the big stink about Black Widow. By the time that comes around.
Right. It's too late. It's like
too late.
Late in the in-universe. It came out here,
after she died.
Right. And it was a lot of that, like I was saying, it was like the build up to Endgame. So it's like, well, this isn't even like an insight into what happened in Endgame. It's just something that took place beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was another shame because actually Black Widow wasn't a bad movie.
No, that wasn't bad either.
Yeah.
And it brought me Yelena Belova, is that her name? Black Widow too.
Brought her too.
Her in Hawkeye is one of my favorite scenes in the Marvel pantheon. Is her with her mac and cheese with the sriracha.
Yeah.
She's so charming in that show.
Yeah.
So Rob wrote in, hey, Dylan, could you scroll up, please? Or down? There we go. What inspired the letter, aside from my wife's lack of dedication to storydom, was the fact comics eventually had to reboot to bring in newbies. We are 5 years away from the 20-year mark for the MCU. So yeah, I mean, I understand you gotta reboot to bring in new folks. I don't know do you mean like recast and reintroduce Captain America and Iron Man, Rob?
I don't know. I don't know whether or not he reboot means that as a reboot, but I think like a table set could be like one of the things when they were starting to build up for when Shield was kind of like connected to the world.
Agents of Shield, the show.
Agents of Shield. They started to kind of like pepper in the idea of the Inhumans.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that the Inhumans were going to kind of like start taking the place of the quote unquote mutants
Right.
in the MCU. So now you've got the entree to start bringing in the idea of mutants. And you can literally reset your whole world if you just start focusing in on mutants. Because X-Men takes you into a universe in unto itself.
Yeah.
You know, and that can act as a reboot of your MCU.
Did you see the Marvels?
I have not.
Okay, never mind. Terry Leahy says Captain Marvel was the worst editing of MCU movie 2. I don't think I noticed the bad editing.
No, I thought it was
Captain
good.
Marvel.
I like
I
that.
mean, it probably was.
You know,
I mean,
he's a video guy.
fine.
So.
Yeah, Terry's a video guy.
That's true.
He's looking at it like that. But it probably does have bad editing because a lot of their movies, that was the other thing about a lot of their movies, is they planned them in such a way that stuff got rushed.
Yeah.
You know, the production of it got rushed. The writing of it got rushed.
The CGI.
The CGI, you know, so you start taking your, thinking that you can like pump this out like that, and it don't work.
Takes
like
a toll.
That way.
Yeah,
and
man.
that's what happened with their TV series. Why they feel like they started diminishing, with few exceptions, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and also they were a lot of where you're seeing the C and D list characters, right? If there had been a Thor TV show and it was good, then we'd probably be like, oh, that's awesome. I mean, some of them, if they were just good on their own, you might start to think of them as A-listers. But I think that was part of it. Was that a lot of the shows, like I love WandaVision, specifically because of Vision, but I'm not sure. Maybe he could
more
have
and
been
more.
turned into an A-list.
The shame is like WandaVision, at least was characters that were from the movies.
Right.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier were from the movies.
Yeah.
But then you get into, and I love the character She-Hulk.
Yeah.
You're introducing her on television.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Secret Invasion. Well, Secret Invasion was just a mess.
They were from the movies. And I forgot about Captain or Falcon and Winter Soldier when I was mentioning they are main characters from the movies, and he's Captain America. So
Oh, Terry says Doctor Strange is better than anybody gave it credit for. Ant-Man 3 would have been better if they killed off the daughter.
Terry is a man of opinions.
Yes,
He does.
He's a
These are them.
bloodthirsty son of a bitch. That guy.
That's true.
So yeah, I don't know. To put a bow on it, I feel like they are setting the table, and they're just some of the hors d'oeuvres are not to our liking. Yeah, I mean, so
I'm still excited about the Kang stuff and various
don't be.
other things. I mean,
Well, he
I'm
is
excited
a
about
character that can be recast.
We were
talking about that last week. Yeah, like
just recast him.
Recast
There's
the
no
character.
reason to
Right.
to pivot away from Kang.
Right.
Literally, just cast somebody else.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of this era of MCU is the multiverse.
Right.
Just cast a different guy and
And I
say
think
it's
you
from
should
the
do it
multiverse.
anyway.
What?
Right? Like, I think you should do that anyway.
Yeah.
If a character, like an actor doesn't want to do it anymore, but you want to use the
Just
character, just
recast
recast it. And,
Yeah, you're bigger than the actor.
right. And then
Especially
you do it a
that
few
actor.
times.
Like I don't feel like he's such a big name that people are like, oh my god,
He's
what?
not that
I'm
big a name right now, but he is a big name.
I mean, I like him. I think he's a great actor.
I think he's a
been
very
having a lot of
talented
fun
actor.
with his multiple versions of the characters. They touch on a little too much, right? I feel like he takes him just to the brink of getting almost annoying with how kind of scene chewy he gets with the you didn't watch Loki.
But it's fine. Go ahead.
He puts on like a stutter as timely. And then the version of him, He Who Remains, was also very like boisterous and gesticulated a lot and made crazy faces and stuff. But he gets right to the edge of, all right, let's calm down a little bit, and then he brings it home. I think.
You know, I'm glad to hear that he does that because I'm thinking about when going back to both of your shows that you guys like, Flash on the CW.
Yeah, I like that.
Where what's his name? Dr. Wells.
Dr. Wells.
Oh, yeah.
And he would just
He is
basically
great.
be the same guy every freaking time. Yet we're told he has a different tick. I'm like, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
It will become fucking annoying to me.
Oh, see, I did
like
see
the
it. and
Council of Wells.
Yeah, I like him too,
Yeah.
but sometimes he was kind of annoying.
Oh, yeah. HG
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's specifically on purpose. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of casting,
Yes.
if you don't mind me throwing a question in
What do we got here?
based
Superman?
on something that you brought up earlier before we turned on the microphones.
Okay.
You talked about how recently, I don't know how we were talking about John Travolta.
Yeah, we were.
And you talked about seeing him recently on, I think it's
Commercial.
Capital One
I was that what it
commercials.
was. I thought it was like
as
Coke.
he is Santa Claus now.
Yeah.
Right? And I was looking up information about him. First of all, I was amazed that like he's 69 years old.
Is it? Nice.
Wow.
Because of the number.
Because of the number.
But John Travolta he's Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
But
Really?
I'm curious. When you think of Santa Claus, is there an actor or a face that you picture?
Wilford Brimley, if I
With
had
his
to.
diabetes.
Yeah, well, maybe. Hopefully not.
Santa Claus had diabetes.
No, Wilford Brimley.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not really.
Let's see. There's Tim Allen.
There's Tim Allen, the Santa Claus.
Oh,
who's
are we talking about
returning-
people who have played
Yeah,
Santa?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I thought you meant who would be good.
Who's returning as
who-
Santa Claus?
I
That's
don't
true.
know his name, but I do have a visual in my head
Was he?
from Santa Claus the movie.
Oh,
I
I
know
don't
that
think he
movie.
was
I
like a
don't-
super big name. But
I
know
think
who
they
you're talking
hired
about.
Santa Claus.
He
They were
looked-
just, they saw that dude and they were like, "Are you Santa Claus?" He was like,
like, yeah.
"You got me."
Yeah.
Would it be in a Santa Claus movie? Okay.
He's not doing that much. Like,
Yeah.
They filmed
He's
in like
free all
June.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did look like he stepped right off of like wrapping paper.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes,
Yeah. But
that's
I have
very
no
true.
idea who he is.
No, I
Other
don't
than
think
Santa
he's
Claus.
actually a.
Yeah.
No, he is a name. He's a
We have a computer.
He's a
Let's look it
character. He's a character actor. Like if you see
Yeah.
his face, you would know him.
Like that-
Because now that
who's
I'm
that
thinking
guy?
about him, more often than not, he's bald headed,
Mm-hmm.
gray hair, and he wears glasses. And he's a big guy.
Oh my God, Dudley Moore was in this, and John
he was
Lithgow,
Dudley Moore was the elf.
Burgess Meredith.
Really? Who is Burgess Meredith?
He was Ancient Elf.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, it's been so long since I've seen this movie that I didn't know who those actors were at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I
fair
didn't know
enough,
who
yeah.
Dudley Moore and John Lithgow was.
That's-
Christian
no, that's
Fitzpatrick
not
is. Oh, David Huddleston.
David Huddleston. Yes. David
Oh my
Huddleston.
God, it's that guy.
Yeah. When you
Who's
see him,
this guy?
show him.
You know that guy. You don't know that
I don't
guy.
know that
Oh, you
guy.
don't watch movies.
I know. Oh, I know him.
Where do I know him from? He was in like the Muppet movie, wasn't he?
I saw
may
that
have been
movie.
in a Muppet.
It
He's
was a long
been
time
in a
ago.
ton of movies.
Yeah.
David Huddleston.
Anywho, do you have someone? Oh, he was in Blazing Saddles.
Yes, he's
Oh,
in
really?
Blazing Saddles.
Wait,
He's
who is
from
he in
Big
Blazing
Lebowski.
Saddles?
He's from the Big Lebowski. He's the guy who hires the Big Lebowski.
Who is he in Blazing Saddles?
He is one of
fat
the
white guy.
townspeople.
Oh, townspeople.
I've never
He's
seen
one of the
Blazing
townspeople.
Saddles.
But he's up on like the stage when he comes into town.
Oh, okay.
Tim Allen kind of comes to mind, but you know who I really enjoyed as Santa Claus? Kurt Russell.
In
Oh, what was that?
I think it's a Netflix movie I saw him in as Santa Claus, and I think Goldie Hawn, that's cute, plays Mrs. Claus.
Oh.
But first of all, Kurt Russell just looks like Christmas would like his cherub face.
But also he's got that like because he grow that man grows some good facial hair.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was in The Hateful Eight
Yes.
as well as
Bones.
Bonesaw McGraw. No, that's the guy from Spider-Man. But yeah,
Is that a real character?
Bonesaw McGraw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonesaw is ready.
Wait, from the beginning?
Yeah,
His last name is McGraw?
yeah, Bonesaw McGraw.
I didn't know that.
Everyone's got like the fake bone. Anyway,
They do the bone saws.
But yes, that man grows some good facial hair. So looking at him as Santa Claus is pretty spectacular, actually.
Yeah, you never saw that movie?
The Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah, wasn't that?
Chronicles.
The Christmas Chronicles, 2018 comedy adventure. It's an hour and 43 minutes.
I think he's done two. Maybe I think there was a sequel.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn's in it as well.
No.
Was it good?
I liked it. I
That is-
enjoyed it.
that's-
It has his definitive
Look at that.
Santa Claus.
Man, Santa Claus can get it. Damn. All right. I'm just saying he looks hot, and I'm
Cool.
a straight man. Dylan,
Do you want to know my Santa Claus?
Yeah.
I was about to ask you.
Yes.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh. He's just
Bad
impersonating.
Santa.
He's just impersonating.
Yeah.
Santa.
Bad Santa. Yeah.
Of course,
He's not
that's
actually
just-
Santa in that
Yeah.
movie, Dylan.
He's not.
No, you were fooled.
Oh.
Yeah.
My
Next
favorite
year's
part of
gonna
that
say
movie
it's not real or something. None of
No,
it.
it's real.
was
it's a real
I was
movie.
just in
Yeah,
it for
it's a real movie.
Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. She's the
course
one
you
with the
would.
Santa fetish.
Of course you would.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, she's fun. I love her.
Yes.
Anyway, so any other questions before we proceed into
Yeah. Did
Scott
you know
Pilgrim?
about the fact that Nicholas Hoult was cast as Lex Luthor in Superman?
I did hear that.
Oh, excellent.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Great. All right.
Cool. All right. So what do you think of that? Are you excited? I don't.
I am. So
don't know yet.
I really like him as an
great.
actor.
Yeah.
I was almost, I don't know, I was slightly disappointed that he's not playing a good guy because he's like a fun actor, and I'd like to see him as one of the heroes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's great.
Yeah, I think he always plays sort of a sweetheart. I can't think of any times where he was like an actual prick.
Yeah, 'cause isn't that
The
him
Great.
in Renfield?
He
Yeah.
is Renfield.
Yeah.
He was in The Great. He was.
Oh, yeah.
He has a softer side, but
Is he bad in The Great?
he's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed by the casting actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have an opinion yet. I always go back to Heath Ledger as the Joker. I had such a visceral reaction to that casting news, and then I was the wrongest
oh really? Because I actually loved that casting
From the
before
start.
you
from
saw
the
it.
start. From the start.
Oh yeah, I was like the 10 things I hate about you guy. Like that's all I knew him as, and I never even saw that movie until later. But yeah, now I just wait. You know, because they're actors. If it's
Yeah.
they chose him for a reason, so he must be bringing something to the table.
I hope so. I'm not seeing it right now.
Yeah.
And also, this is feeling like casting him makes me feel like this is feeling very CW.
Oh,
But
he's like too handsome.
too cute.
Yeah.
It's not handsome because he doesn't look handsome. He
What if
looks,
they
Does have a
ugly him
boyish
up?
charm.
he looks cute.
What if they ugly him up?
Shave his head.
Shave his head, ugly him up, punch him in the face a couple times.
Yeah. Then he'll be ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
He does have a boyish charm. you
I
know?
trust James Gunn.
Yes.
That's the
I
only.
like him.
James Gunn is what's getting me there.
It does feel a little bit like Jesse Eisenberg vibes. Like
Yeah.
that casting, which did not go over well for me personally.
And I
I
didn't
hate
like
that
that
Lex
casting.
Luthor so much.
Didn't like that idea at all.
But I was like, oh, he's a good actor. Maybe it'll be. No, that was wrong about that one.
Yeah.
It would make sense if he was older too,
Yeah,
right? Like Superman's been around for a little while, and
Has he?
Yeah, but this
yeah, in
Superman
this movie.
hasn't.
No, I
That's
think
what
he
I'm asking.
has.
No,
I think James Gunn said like this is not the origin story. He's
no,
been
it's not
around
the
for a
origin
while.
story, but he's not like 20 years Superman.
No, not
Yeah.
20. I got the sense it was like 5 or so years.
Okay, maybe.
But yeah,
That's
maybe
still
he's
young.
roughly the same age as Luther. And yeah, that's true.
Anywho,
Yeah, what's up?
we're here to discuss Scott Pilgrim
Oh, yeah.
Takes Off.
Takes
What?
it all.
It takes it all off, I guess. I assume. I haven't watched the show. I don't know. So Scott Pilgrim. Hey, look there. He
Oh,
is.
you have the shirt of it.
There's that guy.
That one guy.
There's that one guy. Nice. That's a reference from the show and also the movie. So the Scott Pilgrim versus the World was a 6-volume manga-sized, let's say digest-sized graphic novel series by Brian Lee O'Malley. And
When did it come out?
Years ago.
Early 2000s.
Before today.
I recently learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before today.
I read the first volume just on a lark. I had no idea who Brian Lee O'Malley was. I didn't care. I just thought, oh, it looks like a fun graphic novel. And I picked it up and I read it. And I was working on my own graphic novel at the time. I was in the writing stages of it. And it was so similar, but also so much better that I immediately just went like that to my script. And I was like, never mind. What's the point? Like, this thing exists and this is way better than I was doing. And it's way too similar. So I'm not even going to bother.
How far had you gotten? Almost done?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was like
Yeah,
almost
that
done the
sucks.
script.
Huh. You should get back to it.
No. So I love the comic book series,
Yeah.
and I think that the movie is one of the rare instances of a adaptation being better than its source material.
Well, speaking of the source material, what is the 30-second pitch on the story of Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
So Scott Pilgrim meets Ramona Flowers in his dreams and then meets her in real life and decides he wants to date her, and she decides she'd give him a shot. And it turns out that he has to battle her 7 evil exes in combat in order to be able to date her, to continue dating her. And that's it.
That's pretty much it.
That's the gist.
Battle and defeat them.
But yeah,
Well, he can't
right.
lose.
He can't just it's true. He's got to win. And I do think that the 6 volumes gets a little long in the tooth. And I think that the movie takes everything that is really fun and energetic and I think the most interesting bits of that story and puts it into a nice little package.
Yeah.
And I believe we did several episodes of our top. How many
Movie
did
Madness.
we do?
64, I believe.
Too many.
Dylan was into it.
But it wound up being our number 1 of all time comic book movie, right?
Yeah, it was.
So it
Voted
won.
upon.
And then I heard, Scott Pilgrim is getting its own anime. How fun! And I assumed it would be doing the graphic novel story, which is much longer and takes a bunch of different turns.
But still essentially the same story.
Essentially the same story.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to spoilers in a little bit. We won't spoil anything. We're just gonna give our general thoughts, and then we'll tell you when we're gonna spoil stuff because it starts off with a spoiler. So, Brian,
Yeah, what's up?
what did you think of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off?
I enjoyed it. I've watched the 7 episodes out of 8, I think.
Oh, did you?
I did. And I liked it a lot. I thought some of the differences were very cool and better choices. And I thought it was really interesting that they would go that route because you don't think, you're like, this is the kind of story it is. This is what happens.
Yeah.
And different choices were made, and that was cool. There were also elements of it that I was like, I thought this was going to be different. I'd been led to believe that by what they said that it was going to be.
Yeah.
And certain things that I like a lot about the original weren't in this one as much.
Yes.
And so I was like, I thought it was going to be about that more.
Yeah.
So
And when you say original, are you referring to the book or the movie?
the movie? Yeah. I have not read the book, or very very little of it. But I thought it was cool. I just didn't get to it. So, I think we should talk more specifically about all of that stuff. But
do you recommend it?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Especially maybe to somebody who hasn't seen or watched the other things. It definitely stands on its own.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up question.
I think so.
Nice. Len, you watched the first 2 episodes,
Yeah, I've only watched the first 2 episodes, and I have seen the movie.
but you haven't read the graphic novels.
I didn't read the graphic novels. I'm aware of them. I've flipped through them over the years. and I do appreciate that the anime approximates the art style of the
Yeah, pretty
of,
good.
of the graphic novel pretty well. You're right. It kind of like brings it to life and actually brings some of the more fun elements of it, of the storytelling that is done in the comic book format to the anime screen, much in the same way that the movie tried to do as well. Try to bring some of that.
And it uses a lot of the visual interpretations that the movie also used. So it I feel like it pulls a little bit from the graphic novels and the film.
Yeah. So and I think despite like what you described as a story is a basic story, like this guy's got to fight through these seven dudes to win the heart of this woman. But and you mentioned it, but there are elements that you're like, well, that sounds kind of, straight to the point. Like, no, he meets this woman in his dreams.
Yeah.
This woman skates through his dreams because there is a
subspace highway that runs
conduit through his
head.
head that can get her home or get her where she needs to go.
It's like 15 miles in 3 minutes.
I mean, like, and she talks.
She doesn't know what that is in kilometers.
She talks about dating a guy because he had good supernatural powers that could go with her brute strength. I'm like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody punches a hole in the moon in the backstory of this.
In a backstory. That's true.
Right. Yeah. So
in a flashback.
and this all happens in Canada. So that's the other thing.
The faraway land.
You have to think about. But but even with those over the top points of view of it, it's a charming series.
Yes.
It's very charming. It's the book came out in like the early 2000s. But
I would say 2006.
But I feel like the story is actually set in earlier,
90s,
like
2004.
the 90s, right?
2004 it came out.
2004.
Yeah, but I think, but like they're living in the 90s.
That makes sense. They definitely have a VHS in the show that we just watched.
Right.
Yeah.
Although she is delivering
for Netflix DVDs,
so
that does maybe put it in the 2000s. Either way, it's probably like a hodgepodge of all of that type of stuff.
Exactly, it does.
Early
it's
aughts.
its own world, right?
Yeah,
At any rate.
But
it's also very video game influenced. I don't think any of us has mentioned this.
Oh, that's true.
It plays
big
out
time.
like it is a video game.
Yes,
Yeah.
which makes sense because of the time in which it's set. It's cool. It's a charming series. I almost wish, as much as I enjoyed the movie, I almost wish that this was the introduction to Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I could see this living as itself, and then, like, I could almost see, if they play this right, this going the way of Steven Universe.
Oh.
And becoming an actual thing, and then
By
like
itself,
becoming like movies in this world with this, we haven't even mentioned the cast.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So did I say I liked it? I thought this was a lot of fun. It was different than I thought it was going to be. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I care about this, because I was watching it play out, and I was like, this seems a little repetitive. It's making little changes here and there, but man, is this 8 episodes of just like retelling the same story I already know, I've read twice? Maybe I don't care. And then the end of the first episode happened, and I went, oh, okay.
Oh,
We're doing something different.
Yeah.
Beep, I'm in. So yeah, I was delighted to find out that it was going to be a different experience than I'd already had twice before.
Well, they had said before it came out, they said it's going to be different. There's going to be material that wasn't in either the book or the movie.
That is true.
It is true.
That is true.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this. I think if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, it's a lot of fun. I will slightly disagree with Len and say that I think that maybe you should watch the movie first, especially having watched all 8 episodes. But if you don't want to watch the movie, you should anyway.
You should watch it.
You should watch it anyway. Make yourself watch it.
If you don't want to watch the movie,
if you don't want to watch it,
anyway.
fucking watch it. It's great.
Yeah, just do it.
Spoiler alert. We're going to get into spoilers starting now. So I don't know. Keep listening anyway, because it's a cartoon. Who cares?
It's an art form, JD.
Yeah.
was flabbergasted that they murdered him off in the first episode.
Well, I didn't believe it for a while.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, that's probably not the case.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, of course he wasn't dead.
Well,
I don't think
right.
he was dead, but like the fact that like it went as different as it did, and they
Yes.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. Well, especially being a video game, very heavily video game influenced.
Yeah.
And they even mention other characters doing this later in the show.
respawning.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought he would come back from being those coins or whatever,
something.
right?
So I was just thinking about his funeral, which had an open casket service,
With the coins.
and it was
Just
just the
coins.
3 coins.
Yeah, he
His
turns into
casket.
coins, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
yeah.
He turns into coins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought it was a great story.
Yeah.
I really liked how they handled different elements, like we said beforehand. But yes, it was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how into that I was because Michael Cera was in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, cool. In fact, he delivers in the very beginning of the first episode, I think one of the best, if not the best lines of the movie, where he's figuring out what movie to order to entice or to arrange for Ramona to deliver a movie there.
Yeah.
And he's scrolling through and he's like, what, the game ends too.
Yeah.
It's ending a second time. How exciting.
Yeah. There was little hints, and I thought it was just, we're just gonna. It's slightly different. Instead of in the movie, she works for Amazon.ca.
Yeah.
And this,
yes, presumably .ca.
well, I mean, that's what they call it.
I guess they would. Yeah.
Delivering packages for Amazon. In the anime, she's delivering DVDs for Netflix.
Right.
And instead of when he first meets her at the party and he gives her that really awkward speech about Paku Paku, Pac-Man, because of the mouth, this time it's about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right. Which also carried an interesting reference itself.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about, which I assume is true,
Yeah.
that in the 90s there were 2 Sonic cartoons and the one guy played both of them.
Yeah.
2 different versions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Although she did not say, I've heard of him.
Yeah,
which is
I
an
like that.
excellent line in the
Yeah.
movie.
You
Yeah.
know- wait, was Pac-Man?
Have
I
you-
know of him.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and then when the end happened with Matthew Patel, I was just surprised. I was like, oh, this is going to be a whole different experience, and I was very happy. I think so I watched all 8 episodes.
Okay.
I finished it today, and I do think that there is a sort of a dip in the middle. I think my least favorite episode, surprisingly, was the Lucas Lee episode.
Oh, really?
The movie making episode. It was just like a little too over the top silly. It was too many gags that I think didn't really work as well.
I'll tell you, I
think
was like blown away by the animation in that episode.
I was disappointed.
Oh, really?
I thought the animation of him skateboarding
I thought it was awesome.
was rough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I liked it. Almost Daniel Warren Johnson-ish
Yeah.
style, it felt like. In fact, a lot of this has that, I don't know if it's fair to refer to that style of lines moving.
That's where I
perpendicular to
know
action,
it from.
but
yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
I'm not really into skateboarding or skateboarding videos or anything, and just seeing a skateboarding thing happen is not something that would usually entice me.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like these angles and whatever, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about it felt like they were just, someone was in charge of animating Lucas Lee on the skateboard, and then there was a background guy just being like, here's backgrounds. You know
Just
what I
throwing
mean?
them in.
He's throwing them in.
But that's old school animation, though.
That's true.
So, make it work.
What do you think?
Also, the song was good.
What do I think about what?
Well,
The
we're
show.
talking about the
TV
show.
No, I think
It's based
spoilers.
on the manga and that one movie.
No,
You know that movie? I know of it.
I enjoy that it's going someplace different.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's following the lead that, and the first person that comes to my mind is Robert Kirkman has done. In that, the Walking Dead TV series went differently than the comic book.
Yeah.
Invincible is making the animated series is taking changes from the comic book. So they're following that lead. Like, hey, this is our opportunity to tell a story, but maybe tweaking it a little bit. Especially, like you said, it's a story that's been out there into other
Popular media
forms.
for a while.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I like them making that choice. I'm only 2 episodes in, and I'm enjoying. Like the second episode is like a heavy focus on the on the X's. So which was actually kind of cool.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Matthew Patel versus
Gideon
Gideon Grave.
Goose.
And that was a fun episode. I like that because at least from what I remember of the movie, you never have a time where you really like sit with the X's. You know,
yeah, like
so this is a time where they're interacting with one another, and you're
and
like,
what they expect to come from them being in this league.
Yeah. So it was actually kind of cool. I'm enjoying it.
And I thought it was going to be a multiverse. So I don't want to spoil the end of it since you guys haven't actually finished the show.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I figure spoiling the first episode's fine. I thought it was going to be a multiversal version of Scott Pilgrim, and that's why things are going differently. It's not.
But I see,
it's in continuity with what happens in the
I guess it
movie.
is. And also, but in the sense that, like, she is delivering something different. Right. That kind of minor changes.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's true.
well, I'm glad that it's not a multiverse because I'm
done with the multiverse.
But you don't so much mean like a multiverse that would be aware of the other one as just a different story, different interpretation.
Yeah.
A multiverse in our multiverse.
Yeah.
Of all things
of
that
different
can exist.
stories.
Yeah.
We also didn't mention that all of the actors from Scott Pilgrim
Are the same.
the movie are here.
Yeah.
Even ones
in the studio.
Come on out, guys.
Thank you for waiting.
Longest intro ever.
Right. I lost track of what I was saying. Oh yeah. My one complaint is some of the voice acting is terrible.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. And I've seen other people online being like, what is up with the voice acting? But I wonder if it is on purpose. Because
what do you mean by it's terrible?
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is very flat, and a lot of it feels like because I do find Ramona Flowers, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, even when I first saw the movie, I went, man, she is really flat. Like
that's
just her delivery.
purposeful.
Is like that.
It's purposeful. What's that?
That character is like
it's just like that. Yeah.
She's very cool in that way.
So, I feel like a lot of the voiceover work in the show is also very, very flat. But it also rings true to me because I was wondering why they're calling it an anime. Why not Scott Pilgrim, the animated series or whatever? They specifically refer to it as an anime.
It was done by an anime studio.
It was.
Yeah.
It even has a Japanese theme song.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, Netflix calls almost all of their series anime.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. All of them.
But like Brian
there
Lee
you go.
O'Malley and all of them were calling it an anime. And the entire team is, Japanese. And I was wondering if it was in order to give it a anime that has been dubbed in English after the fact kind of vibe.
Interesting.
Because if you listen to the voiceover that's happening, it sounds like an anime. It sounds like Americans doing voiceovers on a show that already existed and not quite nailing it. In my experience of anime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm trying. I don't know if that's me bending over backwards a little bit to give it a little bit too much grace.
No, I think you're kissing your own ass. Yes.
Yeah. It's
because
Ouroboros.
Yeah. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
Because actually, what I think it is
the happiest snakes in the world.
considering that this just debuted,
Yeah.
right? Which means that this has probably been in production a minimum 2 years.
Yeah.
It is very likely that these actors, all of them working actors, so just being able to get all of them, you know,
Yeah, like very
sign them
successful
on.
working.
Yeah.
You know,
One
like
side movie.
when they said, I would have bet it would have been everybody from the movie except Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
Because of how big Succession is.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Or,
but within these 2 years, Chris Evans is like not doing Marvels.
Brie
so he's
Larson just
doing
had a
other
huge.
things.
Yeah.
But fair enough. But either way, I'm willing. I would not be surprised if in the production of this, they probably left a bunch of those people to record their lines on their own.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, home.
Yeah.
You know, these are successful people. Here are the lines. I'm gonna trust you.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna like sit on the Zoom with a director and try
Right.
and direct you. Like you know what to do.
Yeah.
You know this character.
Yeah. Just
You
do it.
You know,
Well,
I'm happy enough that I got you for
Yeah, yeah.
scale because you know they ain't get their rate.
You know what the interesting thing about this is that they had this entire cast had so much fun working together back in 2010 when they made the movie they had an email chain,
Mm-hmm.
and they all are still part of that email chain.
I heard that.
And so, when they came time to do this, they just sent one email out, and everyone responded within 3 minutes that yes, they would do it. I thought that was a cute story.
That is a good story.
But yeah, I just felt like the voiceovers were a bit.
I mean,
I didn't have. It felt like the movie style to me, honestly, which is a muted sort of like detached.
Yeah.
which
kind of
fits
vibe,
so much-
like
you
that
know?
world
Yeah.
kids.
You know what it is? There's so
20s.
much visually happening in the movie that I don't. Maybe it just didn't register for me.
Yeah. Now, the topic of the saying the kind of not spoiling it for anyone.
Yes.
Right. No, I'm not saying I'm not going to spoil it. I'm saying them not
Yeah.
in any way, like hinting about the major changes.
Uh-huh.
It kind of reminded me a little of the Masters of the Universe.
I thought the
Right?
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like you could have just said what the story was.
Yeah.
And you chose not to. And in this case, sort of actively mislead people in saying, like, well, there's new material that you haven't seen before, which, as you said, is true
Yeah.
because it is the bulk of the story. So I really liked it, but I was like, oh, I guess Michael Cera's not in this. And
Yeah,
I guess it's
as
not
much.
playing out this way. And it does turn out to be really cool, but marketing wise, I don't know. It's their thing. They can choose to present it however they want. But why not say...
I like that though. I like when He-Man took a turn. I love that He-Man series that was done by Kevin Smith.
See, I thought it was really good, but I was like, where's He-Man?
Ah,
You
no,
know?
man. I thought the same similarly for a little
Yeah.
bit, but I was so involved in the story that I was like, this is great. I like going into a thing and being surprised. I liked the twist on Iron Man 3 where it was Trevor Slattery
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
playing
That was very cool.
the Mandarin.
See, but I'm not saying they should
I love stuff
spoil
like that.
twists
Yeah.
in the marketing. I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the general idea of the show.
That is the twist, though, is that he dies in the
Well,
first
it happens
episode.
really early, though.
Yeah.
Whereas the Slattery reveal was like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like something you would reveal in marketing.
Right.
Right. But again, you don't have to read things about it if you
Yeah.
don't want to know, right? And I'm not even saying that them not telling you wasn't the right thing to do,
Yeah.
you know? But I could see why people would be disappointed that, they're like, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I, however, I mentioned earlier that they make different choices.
Yeah.
Like the characters make different choices.
Yeah.
And I really like them.
Mhm.
It's not about defeating and fighting
Yeah.
your
Over
exes.
a girl.
It's about making peace with the people in your past.
Yeah.
And it's a different story, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I just, like I said, the Masters of the Universe, I wondered, why do that?
Yeah.
Why not at least say like, oh, this is a totally different story,
Right.
That's very
strap in,
interesting.
kids.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I actually just read a story today about how one of the ways that they cut down on detentions and suspensions at a school in Chicago was by, instead of people that are being exhibiting bad behavior in the school, by whether they're bullying on people or picking on people or starting fights and stuff like that, rather than just straight out suspend them or discipline them in a way, they take them and put them in meetings with the people that they are chastising or attacking,
Oh, I see.
and having a conversation. Why are you doing this? And what is the why do you feel this way? Let's have a conversation. Let's
They have therapy?
more or
That's
less.
cool.
More or
Great.
less.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
they knocked it down in I think it may have been a combination of suspensions and detentions from 43,000 in 1 year to 10,000.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It just making, and that's just a change in like, instead of criminalizing the behavior, let's deal with the behavior.
That's
Yeah.
great.
And
That's
I think
awesome.
that speaks to
Yeah.
what that is. That's kind of like recognizing that this show was made in a different time, with a different mindset, You know, especially with the whole video game,
Yeah.
you know, motif, which is all about the fighting and the turning into coins and stuff like that. And all right, maybe we can use this to do something different as far as a story and teach something different.
Well, and that's what I wanted to get to is the end of the show, which you'll I assume you'll watch.
Yeah, I plan to watch the last episode.
Yeah. The way it wraps up, I think has a lot of heart. That the middle of the show is sort of lacking. It's all gags and action in the middle. But I think they really wrap it up well at the end. Because I remember having conversations with people back when the movie came out about who was a better person, like Scott or Ramona.
Yeah.
And my takeaway has always been they're both bad. They're both people who are inconsiderate, who run away from problems. They use people. They're just bad boyfriends and girlfriends to their previous people.
Oh, they have been bad.
They have, yeah.
Okay.
And it's the movie itself to me has always been about growing and giving yourself some grace and forgiving yourself and being able to move on from certain things that you've done or the way that you are and try to be a better person moving forward. And just having a love story in there as well, that they're both kind of problem people. You know, she even says, I've dabbled in being a bitch. If you look through her relationships, through all of those 7 evil exes, she just like up and left each one. And just like whenever anything got tough, she split. And then, you know, of course, Scott Pilgrim is introduced as dating a high schooler. So it's not like he's the hero of the movie either.
Right.
You know, so I've always seen it as just being young, working on your relationships with other people and hopefully growing. And that's sort of my takeaway. And they deal with that in the finale of this show as well in a different way, which I thought was really cool.
Nice.
That is one thing I was curious. I was interested in your take on. I would have thought they would have changed because Scott Pilgrim is introduced. I think they say he's 22.
Yeah.
And
23, I think.
He's dating a high schooler.
Well,
Yeah.
but they did change it a bit, where they say, but not really, right?
Yeah.
They say they've never kissed. They held hands once.
Yeah.
So
Which
it's
is in the movie.
certainly. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It is
They
in
had
the
never.
movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's telling someone,
Still.
he's like, I think we held hand once.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thought they had changed it somewhat into being like, well, they actually aren't dating.
Yeah.
They're kind of hanging out.
They were
and
hanging
then-
out.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
But if it's the exact same in the movie, then they haven't changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The way they deal with it at the end of the last episode is different. Yeah.
Okay.
They have a
I don't remember
conversation.
exactly what happens. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else about Scott Pilgrim
No.
Takes Off?
No, it's great.
We did it.
Yeah. You know what? I wasn't even sure because I don't really like anime. And
Yeah.
in the very beginning, I was like, can I get into this?
Yeah.
I really like the movie and all these people, the performers. Can I get into this? And pretty quickly, I think around that it's ending a second timeline, I was like, all right, I'm into this. Also, there's a lot of cool guest stars. Al Yankovic, Will Forte.
Will Forte. Yes, that was awesome.
And there were a couple of others, which I don't recall.
Yeah, well, the 2 security guards at the movie theater are Shaun, not Shaun of the Dead.
No.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yes,
from
right.
Shaun of the Dead.
And there may have been another person in that one. But yeah, just a few. Yeah. Very
It
cool.
was really fun.
Yeah.
All right. Let us know. Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And then, speaking of taking off, Len, we're going to miss you, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is my last episode of Cult Pop. It has been a fun ride with you guys. I've enjoyed every moment of it. You know that. And when I can, I will stop back. But life is just getting in the way too much right
Life's
now.
getting too good for Len. He's got a lot of awesome projects that he's working on, and I'm really excited for. Which, by the way, one of them just dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Len.
Yes. Push Black, the company I work for, has just dropped The Stolen Girls of Americus, which is a true crime narrative about set in 1963 in Georgia, where 15 black girls were kidnapped from a protest and held captive for 45 days, with nobody knowing exactly what happened. And it's a true story, and we have brought that story to life in audio format on the Stolen Girls of Americus, which you can check out on wherever you get podcasts, and it's actually on Push Black YouTube page as well. It was worked on it for the last year. We just dropped it, and really excited. The response to it has been pretty dope.
Awesome.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Well, we love you. Your family. I'm gonna miss having you at the table with us.
Yeah, me too.
I miss you guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.
Da-da!